Well, a warm welcome to today's talk. It's Sunday, the 20th of February. Now, I'm going to play a clip from Mr. Bill Gates in a second, and I'm a bit confused by what he's saying, so watch it and see if you can help me understand it. I think it's good news, but I'm not quite sure. So over to Mr. Gates now at at Munich.
Mr. Gates, because this is, I know, a topic that you've spoken on again and again. You were ahead of the curve prior to the beginning of this pandemic. Where would you assess where we are today in beating COVID-19?
Well, sadly, the virus itself, particularly the variant called Omicron, is a type of vaccine. That is, it creates both B cell and T cell immunity, and it's done a better job of getting out to the world population than we have with vaccines. If you do sero surveys in African countries, you get well over 80% of people have been exposed either to the vaccine or to various variants. And so, what that does is it means the chance of severe disease, which is mainly associated with being elderly and having obesity or diabetes, those risks are now dramatically reduced because of that infection exposure. And, it's sad we didn't do a great job on therapeutics. Only here, 2 years in, do we have a good therapeutic. Vaccines, it took us 2 years to be in oversupply. Today, there are more vaccines than there is demand for vaccines. That wasn't true. And next time we should try and make it, instead of 2 years, we should make it more like 6 months, which certainly, some of the standardized platform approaches, including mRNA, would allow us to do that. So, it took us a lot longer this time than it should have.
So there you go. Needless to say, if Mr. Gates wants to come on the channel, we'd be more than delighted to have him. So that sounded like pretty good news to me on natural immunity, as far as I can tell. But what's confused me is let's look at what Mr. Gates actually said here. Sadly, the virus itself, particularly the variant called Omicron, is a type of vaccine creates both B and T memory cell immunity, and it's done a better job of getting out into the world population than we have with vaccines. Sero survey in African countries 80% positive. Chances of severe disease dramatically reduced because of that infection exposure. And it's true we didn't do a great job on therapeutics. So what I need you to help me with is why is he saying sadly to this? Why does he prefix that with sadly? If I'd been saying something similar, I would have said I'm happy that, or pleased that, or, well, in actual fact, I'm delirious, delighted, ecstatic about this, because it means that billions of people around the world are being protected from severe disease by natural immunity to the virus, particularly Omicron, and now, as we might see, we'll see how we go for time today, but particularly Omicron BA2. So a bit confused by that. So just to mark this briefly, sadly, we'll give that a question mark. I'm not sure why he said sadly. But the variant called Omicron is a type of vaccine, creates both B and T cell immunity. Hallelujah. It's done a better job of getting out into the world and the population than we have. Very much true. The doctors we talked to in Uganda, of course, say that basically now no one's getting sick. Omicron has spread throughout the whole country and it's protected the entire population with minimal amount of people getting ill. It just couldn't be better. So I'm not sure why he says sadly here. Sero survey in African countries is about 80% positive and presumably rising all the time because we must be in an endemic situation. And this, of course, is giving rise to huge natural herd immunity. And then, as Mr. Gates correctly said, chances of severe disease dramatically reduced because of the infection exposure, correct. And he's right in saying we didn't do a great job on therapeutics, and we could argue about that for a long time. So just slightly confused why he was sad. I'm not quite sure what he's referring to. If Mr. Gates wants to come on, of course, you're more than welcome, clarify it, talk about it.